Hey guys, so in today's video we have a quick budget update. So we're going to have a look at how we spent our money in the month of April, and then we're also going to be setting the budget for the month of May. So if you're new to my channel, this is something that I typically do every month, so let's get started. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at what happened in April. Now, this is the budget template that we typically use. If you are interested, this is something that you can also access as well. It does include a net worth statement, a sinking funds calculator, and then you have the choice between a monthly budget template or a weekly budget template depending on how you get paid. So make sure you do check that out if you are interested. I will leave a link in the description below for you. But in terms of how the month started in April, I definitely mentioned this in my previous budget update. So we did have an underspend of about £60, so we actually brought that over to the April budget, and then once our salaries came in, we put money towards our savings and investments, our essential bills, and also our sinking funds. So I'm not going to talk about that in this video because most of you will know I typically go through that in the previous video. So if you want to check that out, I will leave a link in the description below for you. Let's have a look and see what happened when it came to our general spending during the month of April. So let's first start off with transport, and this will mainly be either petrol or sometimes I may have to take public transport. And in the month of April we set a budget of £100, which is typically a bit lower, but because of the previous month we still had petrol left over, so we thought £100 would be enough, and in fact we ended up spending even less than that. So we only spent £72 when it came to transport, which was great because then that meant we had more money to spend on other things. So if I then move over to groceries, initially we did have a budget of about £185 for the month, which meant that on average we wanted to spend ideally maybe just over £46 a week, but we did go over when it came to groceries. So instead we spent about £192 for groceries, which equates to maybe around £48 on average a week. So we just went over slightly on the groceries budget. I could kind of tell during the month that we were spending a bit more, and so that's going to be reflected in our next month's budget as well, seeing as it feels like groceries just tends to keep increasing, to be honest. But £192 is what we spent in April. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel, plus it's free. Next up, we've got toiletries. So originally we did have a budget for £40 on toiletries, and with this we ended up going over this month. We ended up spending £51 instead of £40. Now, when it comes to toiletries, sometimes we go over, sometimes we go under. So this month we did go over, but in general we tend to spend about £40, so I think we'll keep it like that for next month's budget. Then when it came to our spending, we both allocate £100 each towards our spending. I pretty much spent all of it, and I feel like this happens every single month unless it's the winter. Sometimes I don't spend all my money during winter, but you know, it's getting closer to summer now, so I probably will be spending all of my money, and I have no idea how much Yinka spent or how he even spent his money. So yeah, we tend to keep that separate when it comes to our spending. But next up, let's talk about personal care. So we had an original budget for £60 for personal care, and we ended up spending £60, so that was great. And then with date night, we originally had a budget of £70, and that also includes takeout as well, in case you didn't know. So with date night we ended up spending £68, so just under the £70 budget, which is great. And then of course, when it comes to my gym membership, that's something I pay monthly by direct debit, so that's £21.99. and then with Disney Plus, that is also a direct debit, so that's £7.99, and that was paid out. And then with miscellaneous, we had an original budget of £30, but we went slightly over and ended up spending £36 instead for miscellaneous. So just £6 over, not too bad. We had my husband's rugby social, so that was £70. Unfortunately, I didn't end up going because I was sick that day. Now, had we known that I was going to be sick that day, we obviously would not have paid that, but you know, life goes on. And then after that, because we had some change left over, we had about 69 pence, so we just added that to a pennies jar, which is basically just a pot of money where we put any loose change. So you can see when it came to our spending, we spent just under £780, which meant that we ended up being under budget for the month of April. So we had about £6 left over, and you'll see in the May budget we have now carried that forward, so we have £6 more to spend during the month of May. So let's have a look at what May is saying when it comes to our budget. Okay, so having a look at May, as I mentioned before, we underspent by about £6, so I have included that in the budget. Now when it came to our income, my husband's salary came in and my salary came in. However, this month I got paid slightly less because of the way the holidays work. So you'll see that reflected in the amount of savings that we have. Usually we do save more, but because I got paid slightly less, it meant that our savings rate went slightly down, and I didn't add any money from the business because I tend to just reinvest a lot of the money back in the business. So I've kind of left it for now. But in terms of our total income, it's my husband's salary and my smaller salary for this month. Then when it comes to savings and investments, so as I mentioned, we are saving slightly less just because of the way I got paid. So this month we're actually putting £900 into our savings. Typically we would put at least £1,000, but £900 is still amazing. So, you know, I'm not going to complain about that at all. And then we also have our own investments. So we put £50 each into our investments. If you're new here, you might not know that we're saving for a house deposit. That's why we're putting majority of the money into our savings. Once we have that, we will definitely be going back to investing a lot more. But when it comes to our savings and investments, the total is £1,000. And then hopefully from next month, that will also start to increase as well. Then let's move over to our essential bills. Now, when it comes to our rent, that recently increased because we've just renewed our lease for another year. So now we're going to be paying £1,150. Before we were paying £1,100. They actually wanted to increase it by another £100. So they wanted to charge us £1,200 for the month, and we negotiated to £1,150. So I would say actually a top tip is always ask if, for example, you're renting at the moment and your landlord is saying, oh, you know, this month's rent is going to be this much. Don't be afraid to ask and negotiate, because we could have just said, oh yes, we'll pay £1,200, but we thought, you know what, let's actually ask. Let's try and meet in the middle, because obviously we're aware that interest rates are rising and there's inflation and rents are going up overall anyway, but we thought we may as well ask. And actually we realized that the rents in our place are about £1,400 a month, so we're actually still paying less than the average. But I'm really happy that we negotiated, because yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get sometimes. So I'm very happy about that. Then when it comes to our water bill, that's £52.75. So that also went up recently. Electricity and gas has also gone up recently. So that's £117.96 that we're paying. We also have council tax that went up last month. So we're now paying £136.14 for that. And our broadband is still £31. And then iCloud is £158. And then we also have our SIM contract. So for my husband, it's £12 a month, and for mine, it's £10 a month. We both use Voxy. So if you're ever interested in a SIM only contract and you want something that has endless social media data, we use Voxy and we really enjoy it. So I'll leave a link in the description below for you if you do want to check that out. But after that, we also have our tithes, charity and giving. And most of you will know that as people of faith, we believe the money is not ours, it's God's money. So we always want to give back a proportion of our income. So that is exactly what we did in the month of May. Okay, next up, let's talk about sinking funds. And if you're not really sure what sinking funds are, these are basically just expenses that you want to save up for over time. If you know it's probably going to come up and you want to just save for it little by little, that's what a sinking fund is used for. So we have a sinking fund for car maintenance. So anything to do with the car, we have a pot and we just gradually put money into that. So we're currently putting £50 a month into our car maintenance pot. We also have a sinking fund for the dentist. So for our dentist appointments, we allocate £20 a month into that pot, because that also includes the checkup and our deep clean that we get once a year. Next up, we've got rugby. So that's my husband's rugby club and he has to pay a registration. So we put £10 a month into that. We also have a pot for clothes. So we put £10 a month into a pot for that. £10 a month into a pot for presents as well, for any birthdays or anniversaries or anything like that. And then another £10 for skincare. And also we have a wedding pot, because we do have a couple of weddings over the next couple of years. So we want to make sure we're prepared for that, because As some of you will know, weddings are very expensive, even if you're not the one getting married, and especially if you are a part of the bridal party. So we are allocating £40 a month towards a wedding pot. So in total, our sinking funds remains as £150 a month, and since the beginning of the year, I don't think our sinking funds have really changed, so that is just a constant £150 going out each month. Okay, next up, let's talk about spending. So this month we have gone back to allocating £120 towards transport, because that's typically how much we would spend. When it comes to groceries, we have slightly increased that. So before we were trying to budget about £185, but since we went over last month, we've increased that to £190, just because we want to be more realistic. And yeah, when it comes to groceries, if food prices are going up, we still want the good food, so we'll just have to increase the budget, and that's what we've done. So 190 is allocated for groceries. Toiletries, we have set a budget for £40. Hopefully that should be enough. If we do go over again, maybe we'll tweak that for next month, but I think £40, fingers crossed, should be okay. And then for our spending, we have £100 being allocated for that. We'll then start to increase that during the summer, because we typically go out a bit more during the summer, but £100 is for the month of May. This month we're allocating £30 for personal care, so slightly less than £60 from before. And then we also have date night, so we have increased that actually to £95, because we're not going to be spending as much on personal care. And during the month of May, it's actually my husband's birthday, so he may want to have takeouts a bit more often during this month, so we have allocated £95 for that month. And then with my gym membership, that's £21.99, Disney Plus is £7.99, miscellaneous, we have set a budget for £30, so hopefully that will be okay. And then also we have £65 going towards a show. So we actually booked a show for next year. We're going to be going to see Mo Gilligan. I'm very excited. Tried to book tickets for this year and it sold out really quickly, so we've booked it for next year. We could have actually set a sinking fund for this, but typically we don't really go to shows, so I don't know if there would be a point in us having a pot, so it's just going to come out of our spending. But if we realize that we absolutely love shows going forward, we may decide to start a sinking fund for that. But at the moment, £65 is going towards that show. And then we've got some loose change, so we just added that to our pennies jar, which was about £1.34. So in total, we're planning to spend about £800 this month. Now, if you're someone who really wants to start taking more control of your finances so that you have the ability to save more money, and maybe just having a really good budget is one of those things that you really need help with, then make sure you do check out my one-on-one coaching, because I can help you with all of that, especially if saving money is a key goal for you this year. So what you can do is just book a free call with me personally to find out more about working with me. So I'll link more information up here for you and in the description below. But I am happy with how the month of April went when it came to our finances, so I'm looking forward to seeing how May goes too. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, how did your budget go for the month of April? I do post every Tuesday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next week.